What's up everyone, it's Jim from On Point Samples and I'm going to give you 5 hardstyle tips you should always consider when making hardstyle. Before I dive into it, make sure to comment, like and subscribe, you know the drill. And yeah, let's get into it. So the first tip I have is to work organized, and I've mentioned this in other tutorials as well, but I'll get a little bit more in depth. I created this thing here. It's a quick edit of head swirl roll. It sounds like this. And as you can see, I have a lead, a chord, a bass, and then the claps. So the most important thing is that you have your leads, your chords, and bass separated. So what a lot of people tend to do is take the chords and put the melody on top of the chords. And that means you have a chord preset or VST working as a chord plus lead, and that's not really efficient. What you should do is create a lead, then take the chords separate, and then take the bass line separate, and these go into your mixer, and then you make a really clear distinction between lead, chord and bass, and then you route those to separate mixers, and these go into one big mixer, as you can see here. And there you apply delay, reverb and all these things. And what you can see once you start doing this is that your workflow and your mixdown and everything will get much better. So make sure to separate your lead, chord and bass, and don't put the melody on top of the leads. Tip I have, and it still applies a little bit to breaks, leads and chords and whatever, is that less is more actually. You should also consider that next to separating your chords and leads, you should realize you don't need a huge layer. What the people do, and that's not the way you should do it, is get like 10 layers of leads and 10 layers of chords. First of all, your CPU is gonna burn down. Second of all, it's not necessary. If you have a plugin and you play a chord layer, that means you play 4 notes, and then you have like 2 oscillators open with 16, a unison of 16. That means that this saw gets played 16 times, and this one as well. That means you have, here you can see how much it's like, how many times it's generating. If I'm playing 4 notes, 128 saws in a super saw. You know, you can layer a few, but then that's huge, okay? If you go back like to 2008 or whatever, when the first hardstyle started, they had like one synthesizer which generated these super saws, and layering was really hard because the computers couldn't handle it, but it still sounded great. And now we have a little bit more capacity with computers, well, a huge amount of capacity actually, but don't make the layers too big. And if you make layers, make sure to use the layer plugin. Select it, then select the ones you want layered and click set children. It's right there, set children. And then if you play this, those 3 will play. So I have this thing created here, and it sounds like this. And it sounds really, really full, and that's because my mixdown is really clean, but it's also just really, it's just 3 chords and 2 leads and 1 bass. So the chords sound like this. And as you can notice, I didn't put any effects in the mixer. Same for the leads. It's all on the mixer bus they come together to. So you can see these are all routed to one thing. And then this one sounds like this. Dry, it sounds like this. It sounds like this. This one sounds like this. So that's 3 things. And as you can see, I have 1 main and then 2 that are routed left and right, and then go to this one. And the leads sound like this. And this one. It's really easy, and these come together and it sounds so full. And then the bass line is just this. The cool thing I did there is open up reverb, so the empty spaces gets sub as well. But then it comes together and it sounds like this. And make sure to add the layer, assign a few VSTs to 1 layer, get it in the mixer, make it dry, put it on 1 bus, put the effects there, and make sure just to not use too many VSTs in your layer. It's fine if you have like 5 or 6, and then it's more than perfect. And if it doesn't sound perfect, that means you gotta fix something else, okay? So the important thing to take home here is, if it doesn't sound right and you think you need to add more layers, the issue is somewhere else. The issue is your mix or the way you've arranged your song, okay? Try to fix that instead of adding more stuff. Before I dive into the third tip, I just wanted to let you know that we've just released a new pack called Filthy Frenchcore Kicks Volume 1. It's a great pack and every Frenchcore uptempo producer should have it. Make sure to check it out. The third tip I have, I'm going to show you how to get like emotion into your melodies. And a lot of people's melodies sound really bland and they're just put there and there's added nothing to it. So these tips will help you create something that sounds a little bit more interesting.
Nice.
So let's say we use this one. The thing I did there is this. I added extra notes underneath each note. So that means it kind of drives the melody to this point. And you do that with portamento or legato. And you just enable it here. And in different plugins, it's still called legato portamento. And just enable it and put it on a speed you prefer. So, and it gives this like Code Black release kind of atmospheres vibe. Like the euphoric hardstyle vibe. And then another thing you can do is get this melody, go to the pitch bend, create automation clip. Now it creates automation clip of this knob. And then you copy 50% because it needs to be on pitch. And then notes you want to accentuate, you can open up the pitch bend to. So let's see. Add a knob here and then I open it here. So it means the pitch goes down and then up. So you can do this along the melody and then you can really accentuate things that will maybe sound more emotional. So another thing you can do is open up pitch AB. You put it on a sine wave. And don't let it open up too much. And then you can create an automation clip of the gain. And you create one of the rate. And then on certain notes you accentuate it. So then there's a really cool tip that not a lot of people know, and that's that you can create automation clips of automation clips. So what people may be doing is like open this up like this, which is fine, but what if you're at 20% and then you want to get back at 20%? It's really inconvenient to put it at 20% again. So what you can do is put it on 20% because that's your base level. You want it always to be at 20%, and then you go to minimum and you create an automation clip of this. And that means that you can control this automation clip with this automation clip. So in this case, we want the rate to sound like this. Oh, sorry, this is the gain. I don't want the gain to have anything. It was just an example. But then I want this gain to open up at certain notes. So like, let's see this note. I want this note to open up there. There you go. And now we have to do the same thing with the LFO rate. I put it on minimum and then I make it go up here. And then you get that sound, you know. And it's a really simple way to accentuate notes and give like this vibrato LFO effect. And these are like two methods to give, well, three actually, because we did the portamento, we did the pitch bend, and we did the vibrato. And then another thing you can do, which sounds really cool, and this still applies a little bit to spicing up your leads, and that's just opening Valhalla Room. And this is a trick I found out. It's just create an automation clip of the mix and one of the decay. So you kind of create a manual reverse reverb with this compared to just opening up the reverb, and it gives more of a sucking effect. So we want to have it open up in these small spaces. So then you get the decay on 100 and the mix on reversed way. So then it sounds like this. And it's way better than just opening up the mix knob of the reverb. This sounds like this. And that's just another way to make your lead sound better, you know. So that was the third tip. So the fourth tip I have is to know your music theory. It's something that is really overlooked in hardstyle. A lot of people don't really know what they're doing. Shots fired! Shots fired! And hardstyle is all about music theory. So if you like make Big Room, which is this old genre, then people would like take an octave. An octave is just literally the same note and then one higher or lower. And then take the fifth, the perfect fifth. So it sounds like this, and then there's no emotion. So let's say you put one note under it or above it. Minor, major. So I'll give you a little bit more music theory to really make you understand something about music theory and then apply it into hardstyle. So hardstyle is really only about minor scales, and then if you want to go crazy, you can like do modal interchanges and some more complex things. And we will make a specific tutorial about music theory. It will be a series which you can look at and then get the basics and maybe a little bit advanced information about it. Music theory is relative, and it's about intervals. And an interval is the amount of space between each note. And then a minor scale, you can get these minor scales or any scale here. Minor natural is just 7 notes, and it's always this formula. It's always a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, and then you're home. So if you place it on E, you have E minor, F sharp minor. It is just you start at your key, apply the formula of whole step, half step, whole step, etc., and you have a minor scale. And then the fun part starts, and that's where you open up another preset like this. So I'll select each note, and then we have this. So this is a minor scale, but what people don't know is that every note in a minor scale represents a predefined chord. And this is something that applies for minor sevenths, augmented scales, everything. And that's how kind of like jazz sounds really weird, and it sounds super complex, which it is, but you can go a long way if you know every chord to every note in every scale. Because then you can change a few things and then it sounds really, you know, lo-fi, jazzy. But for hardstyle, you just need to realize it's all minor scales with some exceptions. So what it sounds like is the first one will be minor. So that's 2 up, then this and this. So this is like the minor third, the perfect fifth, and the root again. Then we go into... So the first one is a minor note, F sharp minor. Then we get G sharp minor as well. It's actually G sharp diminished minor, or D sharp diminished. But you can play with minor like this because it sounds better. And then we get A major. So you go major third instead of minor third. Then you play another minor, minor third. Then you play another minor. Then you play major and another major, just like that. And then you're home again, and then you have the minor scale, F sharp minor. And then the cool thing is that this is like the first, the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and the first again. And then if someone says, play me a 1, 3, 5, 6, you just play these. That's it, it's super easy. And if you rearrange these chords, you get a simple hardstyle tune. So let's just take like the... And it sounds like this. And that's music theory. And then the cool thing is that if you start with the chord progression, then you can easily create a melody because you open another VST and then you accentuate the notes that you've been using. So let's make it a little small melody maybe. That easy, because you know where to place these notes right now, because you already set the chords. And the chords really drive the melody. And then I can go up and then like accentuate this chord. And then that is how a melody gets memorable. It's much more easy to go this way than it is to create the melody first. Okay, and then I took a few of these presets we got in other packs. This is Hardstyle Essentials 2 or like 1 and Hardstyle Essentials 1 as well. And here's the bass line. I applied a few of these presets and I used the melody, and then it sounds like this. And it's not the best melody, but I made it in like 1 minute, you know. So yeah, so this is like proof that you really need to get your music theory down, and it's really worthwhile to get into this. And the more the better you get at it, the easier it will be to create melodies. And melodies are like the most important thing of hardstyle. So the final tip I have is to create your melody in your head first. And because the melody is the super important part about hardstyle, and you really need to get a really good melody for each song, it's worthwhile to get really good at melodies. And you can get better at it if you understand music theory, but also if you just think creatively. Like if you're making music, you're a musician, and then you gotta like think about music. So if you're like riding your bike or driving to school or whatever, just think about melodies.
sorry. Fuck you, Mike. Why you fucking coming fast?
The moment you know it's a good melody is when you are able to hum it. That's the moment you know that it's a memorable melody. And then you can tweak it in your DAW. And the cool thing is when you create melodies out of your head, it sounds really complex, but then you put it down and it looks really simple. And compared to if you create the melody in your DAW, you come up with these crazy melodies and like, you know, and there's like 1000 notes in 8 bars, and it's not the best melody. If you get the melody first in your head, that means that it will be much more simple, and then you realize that a melody doesn't need to be super complex in your piano roll to make it sound good, you know. So hum melodies, think of melodies, and then apply the music theory of tip 4, and it will really boost your creativity and your workflow. And also realize that this is something that takes a while. Okay, you can't become a melody master in one day. If you do this daily, let's say you think 15 minutes per day about a melody, that's nothing. Everyone has 15 minutes. If you do this, you will get really good at it. And then like in 1, 2, 3 months, you'll notice that you get great ideas. And then if you have a melody, you could whistle it or hum it and record it on your phone so you can like come back to it and use it in your song. So that kind of sums up everything of these 5 tips. If you want to have more tips or like another video on this, make sure to drop a comment, like and subscribe, and you get updated with all our content. We post a lot of freebies, sample packs and tutorials for hardstyle producers and any uptempo genre. And I hope you enjoyed this one. If you do, let me know. It motivates to make more. And yeah, have a nice day.